Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Bros podcast. We're back. Here we are, back again. It's season 2. Are we on season 2? Where are we?
I would say we're in season 2.
Yeah, there we are.
And if we're not, we'll put a correction on.
I think we're in season 2, in which case, welcome to season 2 of the Tech Bros podcast. I, as always, am Raj, and with me is Egerton. Hi, Eggs.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's been a strange, period in terms of a lot of things changing, as I'm sure many people are aware, and it's maybe changing wherever you are, and hopefully things are getting better as far as current events are going. But obviously, it's
Yeah.
not the case for everyone. But I do want to say, hope you're all keeping well, and we're going to be talking about hopefully some things that will be relevant to some of you as we're starting to get to a stage where lockdowns are lifting and maybe you're thinking about traveling to other places. Certainly here in the UK, air travel has started to pick up, and actually flying to other places is now something that seems to be a possibility. I know, Eggs, you're flying out to places pretty soon, I think.
Yes, I am.
So
Flying out to Canada.
flying out to Canada, living
Yes.
the high life in Canada,
Yes.
getting all the maple syrup.
Oh, God.
Stacks upon stacks of pancakes with maple syrup on top. So we're going to be talking about air travel, and we're going to be talking about essentially apps and how technology can sort of help you in terms of your flight plan, essentially, and sort of guiding you through your journey, basically. So let's start with pre-takeoff, and maybe we can
Yes.
start with actually a little bit of like an update in terms of Eggs, as I'm sure if you have not listened before, Eggs works within the aviation industry. He works in air travel for an airline. Can you name? I don't know. Can you name your employer? Is that going to cause problems?
I don't think I should.
Okay. Let's just say that he works for an airline. Is that okay?
Yes, I work for a major airline.
Yeah, he works for a major airline. You've heard of
Yes.
them, is what I'll say.
Yes. Yes.
And so, in terms of, I mean, we're going to be talking about, I guess, more from the UK perspective. So maybe wherever you're listening, it's not fully relevant. But in terms of taking off now, what's the sort of current situation in terms of requiring, say, an app to show your proof of vaccination and stuff like that? So how is that currently working?
Oh, do you know what? There's so many of them out now nowadays. Just to name a few, such as the Ayata travel pass, which is currently being tested at the moment, so it's not fully public as of yet. I think for certain airlines and certain flights, that is being trialed on, so that you would upload your vaccination details, and then you'll bring that to the airport to show that you are verified, COVID fully jabbed, or you've done a COVID test which is negative. You have some other ones as well, such as Verifly, which is done by a third party company in Canada. So that's again, depending on the destination you're going to, you'll have a certain checklist of what you need to fill out. So for me, because Canada is on Verifly, for the airline that I'm traveling with, you would have to give information such as your vaccination status, so your vaccination certificates, your proof of COVID-19 test, and also your Arrive Can as well, which is your registration with the government of Canada, stating that, these are my documentation for me to enter Canada. And another one as well, which for some reason I've just forgotten from the top of my head, but I know that certain airlines have their own systems of like pre-departure, pre-airport departure verification, when you submit your documents, to enable you to check in. So it all kind of varies depending on the country that you're going to and what airline you're traveling to. But that kind of seems to be the norm now, in terms of air travel, where where airlines would actually, push you to present your information earlier, like 3 days earlier, instead of having to come to the airport and stay in long queues, and then at the end of the day missing your flight.
And I guess in terms of for a lot of people, they have not traveled in perhaps a long time. Maybe not traveling now. Maybe they're going to at some point in the future. And as you've been continuing to work in this period, what can people expect in terms of when they actually get to the airport? Has that experience changed? Is there maybe more that's required of people before they actually fly out, or anything like that?
I think from the time that air travel has kind of peaked up a bit, I would say that there's been a lot of queues,
Mhm.
because of course when you need to present this sort of information, the amount of processing time for agents at a desk is double or even tripled. So yeah, the I would say the experience has probably got much worse, depending. But again, it depends on the destination you're going to. Some destinations are easier than others. Some will just require one item, and some may require three or four. So um,
And
yeah,
and it is worth stressing that the rules are probably very different depending on both where you're flying from and where you're flying
yeah,
to. You need to obviously
yeah,
check with whatever uh, country that it is that you're flying to in terms of what their rules and regulations are.
hmm
They might also require certain documentation from you. You need to provide certain details such as where you're staying, and again your vaccination status and things like that.
hmm
Um, so when you suggested this topic, you also wanted to talk about some of the sort of travel apps. What sort of things do you think would be helpful to people? We're still sort of talking, before they get on the flight.
yeah.
What sort of things are helpful for people that you'd recommend?
Well, me being one to be, very organized, and for this trip I am very organized. um, what I suggest people to do is download your own airline's app. That is the best thing to have, because all the airline apps have all the information you need pre-airport. If you need to submit your documentation, you do it through your app. If you need information on what the COVID procedures are at the airport, it's in the app. Waiting times, even now, airline apps even have um, a COVID destination checker. I believe it's called Sherpa,
Mhm.
which actually gives you all the information you need when you select your destination. If you're fully vaxxed, if you've done a COVID test, it shows you exactly what the requirements are for you to enter into this country. So, not in this country, but the country that you're going to. And from that, at least then you don't have any nasty surprises when you come to the airport. Because to be quite honest, I'll say a good 40 to 50% of people come to the airport and do not realize that they need a COVID test, or they don't realize that they need proof of vaccination, or proof of vaccination doesn't work for the country that they're entering. So it's always best to have um, the airline's app installed on your phone. And also, it also allows you to check in online. I know people tend to want to check in on the web, but also checking on your phone is good because at least then you have your boarding pass on your phone rather than having to print it out. Save the trees, save the environment. Um, and also another app that I would say that I use um, one very well is App in the Air. So App in the Air is an app that you can put all your flights there, um, and then it kind of updates when you've got a gate. It tells you when your check-in is, what time your boarding is, what time you take off, and what time you're going to land. Flight alerts, travel advice. You can put your travel documents there, like your insurance, like your travel insurance, um, what the weather's going to be like, hotels, baggage, car rental, and even other people that use the app that are actually in the destination that you are in. So, you may find somebody that is traveling by themselves, don't know the area, you don't know the area too. You could meet up, for instance.
Wow, really?
Yeah, yeah. Pretty neat, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily would trust some
Yeah,
random stranger on an app.
true, true. That is
but
true.
that's pretty good either way.
That is true. And then I'm just having a look as well. Another one that I tend to use as well is called Check My Trip by Amadeus. So for all my airline workers and those that are very familiar with the airline industry, Amadeus is a provider for airline systems. So they've actually created this app where you can put your booking in the app and it updates you in terms of any time changes, if your flight has been cancelled, if it's been delayed, especially for those my colleagues that are on staff travel as well. Um, and you're in economy and then you get moved to business, it will notify you that you've been moved to business. Um, so that's a pretty good app to have as well. And I'm just having a look as well for any more that I may have. Mm, 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 mm. Actually, there is one, but this one is just for my airline colleagues. Or well, not my actual company per se, but anybody that works in the airline industry, which is good for staff travel because now that travel is peaking up, it's going to get harder to get seats on standby tickets. So an app that I use, which I found very useful because when I go to Canada, I'm actually doing a day trip in Montreal on a staff ticket with Air Canada. And the app is called Staff Traveler. So Staff Traveler gives you the loads of an aircraft. So for instance, I could be going to Montreal tomorrow. I want to find out how busy the flight is. You go into Staff Traveler, you enter the flights that you're going on, and somebody, well, you would hope, somebody from that airline will put the loads there and it'll tell you how many seats are free, how many staff are listed, and from there you can make your listing with the relevant airline. So I've been using Staff Traveler for good. So I've been at my company for about 6 years, nearly 6 years. So for about, let's say, 4 years of my airline career, I've been using Staff Traveler, and it's been pretty accurate. So it's actually a good tool for to have if you work in the airline industry.
Fantastic. Um,
Yes.
so that's a good. So that's, I guess, the overview of apps that are there for you before you take off. But also there can be some things for when you're actually up in the air, so to speak. So
Yes.
you also had some recommendations for that too, didn't you?
Well, there's only one that kind of stood out to me that is pretty new as well, and something that I saw um, a while back on, I believe, the Points Guy, which is JetBlue, and having the ability to order your food from your seats. So I've not seen it personally. I've not seen it with any other airline that I've traveled with. I think it's probably quite new, and I don't think any UK airline kind of has that technology just yet. But one thing I noticed from JetBlue is that anything you wanted to eat, you order from your seat. So it's just like you have a screen behind your seat. It is built into your IFE, or in-flight entertainment system, and you select what you want. It sends it to the cabin crew, and the cabin crew brings the food right to you. So I think that's something pretty neat, and something different, to be quite honest with you. Instead of having to be pressing the call button for your cabin crew, all you do is send your order, and then your order comes to you.
Do you think that that's something that's going to be adopted by the other airlines in the future?
I think so. I really do think so. I think that there's strong trends to show that this is where airlines are kind of moving to now, and especially with the whole thing about COVID as well. Um, you don't really want people going up and down the cabins or anything like that. So it, it's kind of good for, you know, just sending your order and then just having one person come out rather than having multiple people coming up and down the aisles, or passengers going up and down the aisles looking for stuff when you can just order it from your you can just stay in your seat. So yeah, I think that there is strong trends to show that this is where airlines are going to move to in the next couple of years.
Especially when it comes to ordering of the in-flights, snacks and stuff like that. So when
Yeah,
they come through, they have to come through with that, the trolley that blocks the aisle, and then if someone needs to go to the toilet, and then it's kind of it's a bit of a
yeah,
mess,
it's a
to be honest.
mess.
And so it probably is better that you can have it on a more ad hoc basis where you just open orders and people can just order from there.
Mhm.
The one thing is that I guess the one barrier is that with the current in-flight entertainment screens, they're not necessarily the nicest to use. And I think that if you are ordering on your seat, especially if you're having to take payment, you would then have to provide your details in a way that's quite, user intuitive. And and those screens aren't necessarily with the kind of remote controls that they have at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's maybe like the one thing that I guess uh, is kind of in the way at the moment. I guess in terms of ordering food to your seat, it's easier because it's not like you're having to pay for that. It's, I guess,
Mm.
when you're having to pay for things, maybe that's where things could be a little bit more complicated.
But I think I've noticed with JetBlue, they've actually got like a swipe
Hmm.
at the side of the IFE for you to actually pay for your item. So
Yeah.
you swipe the card on the side, and then that takes payment that way. Not sure how secure that is, especially if you're in the air as well. But I'm
Yeah.
sure that for that to be there, there must be some level of security.
But I guess also it must be quite a big job to actually replace all of the screens and devices that are currently on the planes.
Yeah,
So that's obviously that's a big undertaking.
yeah,
So it might be a while before you see that sort of thing. I think
yeah.
in some of the other airlines.
Hmm.
Maybe for a newer airline that buys a new sort of fleet of aircraft, they can do that.
Oh yeah,
But,
absolutely.
but when it comes to the existing aircraft for some of the other airlines, then it might be a while before we get there.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's about it that we have. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I think that was mainly it really. But if you do want to check what travel apps that are out there, I would suggest that you check on your app store. There is a lot of travel apps out there that will help you plan your journey, during your journey, pre and post airport as well. And I think some of them are a bit have like Uber and Lyft and all that kind of stuff in there as well, for post airport. So yeah, have a look on your app store, and yeah, have a browse and download what you feel that you need.
And there we go, just like that. Yeah, so
There we go.
that's all we have for this episode of the Tech Bros podcast. It's been me, Raj.
And the Egerton.
I did the thing where I was like waiting for you to complete. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Share and like, do all the things that you do when it comes
Yes.
to social media content. And we will see you hopefully in the next episode. Bye
See you
bye.
soon. Bye bye.